All right, that was crazy. I just saw the Kansas City Chiefs defense come up clutch and make a stop for Patrick Mahomes. That's something that the 49ers defense was apparently allergic to today. A clutch play to help out the quarterback and to help out Jauan Jennings, who put up a Jerry Rice type game. I think we got to start with that. Jauan Jennings had 11 catches for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. The last time a 49ers receiver managed over 10 catches, over 150 yards, and at least 3 touchdown passes, it was Jerry Rice in 1995, about 30 years ago. So that's how good of a performance the 49ers managed to waste. Brock Purdy was also excellent today. I mean, we could talk all we want about Purdy's, I think, close to 70% completion rate again. He's leading the league in completion percentage over expectation. But for all the passing, Brock Purdy rushed for 41 yards, including that diving first down. As Kyle Shanahan said, he played his ass off. Yet somehow, some way, the 49ers lose. I mean, talk about wasting stellar performances. You had Purdy doing what he did, and you had Jauan Jennings borderline making history, one of the great performances in franchise history. And this is obviously an illustrious history for the 49ers at the wide receiver position. And somehow, some way, they weren't able to beat a bad Rams team. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that was a good opponent that the 49ers faced today. We saw that same Rams team lose 41-10 the week before to the Arizona Cardinals. We saw them get run over in overtime in week 1 by the Detroit Lions. They couldn't stop the run game. They couldn't protect Matthew Stafford. The 49ers made that offensive line look good today, even though through 2 weeks it had been unfathomably bad. And the 49ers gave the Rams hope. I mean, Kyle Shanahan had a team meeting on Saturday night where he told the 49ers, we cannot give the Rams hope. We just have to snuff out hope. And the 49ers did the exact opposite with special teams and on defense. So when I'm talking about what went wrong for San Francisco, one, shockingly bad pass defense. Stafford was at about 11 yards an attempt in the second half behind an atrocious offensive line, starting a rookie center in Bo Limmer. Logan Bruss was a first-time starter at left guard. Noteboom, Steve Avila, and Jonah Jackson, 3 of their best offensive linemen, are all on IR. The Rams hadn't been able to block anybody through 2 weeks. All of a sudden, it turned into this great wall in front of Matthew Stafford in the second half. And, I think I'll have to watch the tape. And I asked Fred Warner, I asked Diamond Lenore, what's wrong? Why is rushing coverage not quite tying together? And to me, when you see the Rams hitting on so many deep passes, there's obviously something wrong with what the 49ers are executing on the coverage end. But it's never just one thing. And I think that the pass rush is not really on the platform it needs to be because the 49ers run defense isn't moving the needle that it needs to move. The Rams had 98 rushing yards on 26 carries, which is only 3.8 per carry, but there weren't consistent losses in this game. The 49ers never consistently snuffed out the run. They're letting the Rams get what they needed to between those 3 and 4 yards, the setup and manageable situations. And then you look at somebody like Charvarius Ward, who got beaten by Tutu Atwell on the 50-yarder to tie the game. Atwell, this is a 5'9" at best wide receiver getting past an all-pro cornerback. Mooney Ward has not been the level of player that he was last season when he won those all-pro honors. So I look at that and I see a guy who probably is playing through something. They had to yank him out of the game before one of those Rams touchdowns. He was on the injury report with a knee and a hamstring. And you have to say, how serious are these issues for Charvarius Ward to the point where he hasn't looked like himself through 2 weeks? I think the best 49ers cover guy has definitely been Diamond Lenore. But with Ward not at 100% apparently out on the field, and with Isaac Yiadom as the 49ers third cornerback, Matthew Stafford was just mercilessly targeting Yiadom throughout portions of that second half. Renardo Green came in when Ward was out, and he promptly picked up a holding penalty. I get it from Talanoa Hufanga's perspective. This is his first game back, so he's going to have to get reacclimated. But the safety position was bad a week ago against the Minnesota Vikings, especially on the Jefferson 97-yarder. But I think that it came down to schematics on that. Nick Sorensen, the new defensive coordinator, had on the 97-yarder, had two safeties covering the best receiver in football. That just isn't going to work, right? You had George Odom trying to pick up Jefferson out of the slot, Jair Brown over the top. I don't think that schematically things were much better for the 49ers in this game. Look at the fact that the Rams throughout the first quarter of this football game were able to do hardly anything. I have the first half summary here. The Rams, they managed 126 yards in the first half, but that was after they had picked up that 87-yard touchdown drive following the fake punt. So 87 of the 126 Rams yards in the first half came on that one drive. So prior to that, they had about 30 to 40 yards of total offense. That's not good. It's not a good look for Nick Sorensen and the 49ers' ability to adjust, because you're completely snuffing the Rams out. We know, based on what we'd seen on paper and what we'd seen on tape for the Rams against the Cardinals, that this was a unit that shouldn't have been able to handle the 49ers defense. That ended up coming to fruition through the first two drives. And then after those first couple drives, the Rams go off for all of their points, all 27 of their points. So 27 points over three quarters for the Rams in this football game. So the 49ers went backwards after the adjustment period of this game, which shows me that Sean McVay had a big advantage over Nick Sorensen. They started finding holes in the 49ers secondary. They started finding ways to diffuse the pass rush. And a lot of that is because the run defense isn't moving the needle. Look, one of the big reasons why the 49ers got rid of Steve Wilkes last year is because they ranked number 26 against the run. Damage that was mostly done after Talanoa Hufanga went down with his torn ACL. Well, Talanoa was back today. I'm going to have to watch the tape to give this a fully accurate appraisal. I know his very first play was a tackle. It was a nice run fit that he made, and that's something that Talanoa Hufanga should help the 49ers with. But the final numbers in this game indicate that the problems against the run were still there. 98 yards for the Rams in a game where they were overmatched up front just isn't going to cut it for the 49ers. You have to have respect for Matthew Stafford. He can deliver a lot when there is a little to work with. And he did get that little glimmer of hope, and he did deliver plenty for the Rams. Ultimately, I think they had enough rushing success in this game to just be able to blow the top off of a secondary that is delivering shockingly bad pass defense for the 49ers. And then, of course, on top of everything, there is the spectacularly bad special teams. They had a punt blocked last week, the 49ers did. That's bad enough. Then you move to this week, and Kyle Shanahan said that they knew that a fake punt might have been coming. He said they were in a formation to stop the fake punt, yet the Rams got the edge anyway. So if there's ever anything that's inexcusable, it happened on that play. Then you had the return at the end. 38 yards? Low line drive kick from Mitch Wishnowsky, not a whole lot of hang time. Coverage wasn't there. I mean, I don't think that they touched Xavier Smith on that return until he was 38 yards downfield and putting the Rams in field goal range. So ugly, ugly stuff from the defense and the special teams. Now, I know a lot of people, when we talk about what went wrong for the 49ers against the Rams, they're jumping on Ronnie Bell right now. And obviously he had one of the critical miscues of this game. But this is where I zoom out, and, I like to look at complementary football. I look at perspective. The 49ers were without three offensive stars. They're without Christian McCaffrey. They're without Deebo Samuel. They're without George Kittle. So this is a depth game by definition for the 49ers offense. You're digging into players who aren't normally asked to contribute at crunch time, like Ronnie Bell. So in a depth game, you have to get something extraordinary from your defense, from your special teams, or something not terrible from your defense and your special teams. But what the defense and the special teams gave the 49ers was terrible. So yeah, you could point fingers at Ronnie Bell, but that was a shorthanded offense. In a normal game with a normal level of health, that throw is going to Jauan Jennings. It's not going to Ronnie Bell. He's supposed to be the third receiver, but Jennings moves up a rung in that receiver order, and then it has to go to Ronnie Bell. So I just think that you need to expect a little bit more from the units that actually were at full strength in this game. Yeah, Ronnie Bell dropped the pass, but the offense wasn't at full strength. Probably shouldn't have been in that position. If the defense had played just mediocre football instead of terrible football, decent coverage, and if the special teams had completely blown it, you're not asking Ronnie Bell to make that catch at the end of the game. Anyway, that's just a little bit of perspective. Let's look at this perspective, because if we zoom out and we talk about the 49ers chances moving forward, the hardest thing to do in the National Football League is find a quarterback. And the 49ers obviously have one. All of the talk about Brock Purdy not being able to deliver without his full stockpile of weapons has been proven to be utter nonsense. I mean, this was an elite game from an elite player, and what this passing chart from NFL Next Gen Stats shows you is only the aerial game from Brock Purdy. He also rushed for 41 yards. He was scrambling for his life behind the line of scrimmage. There's a whole lot of green on this chart. To me, it's nearly unfathomable that Brock Purdy could put together this type of performance against an underdog, and when that happens, the 49ers still lose. Like, how can you play a team that you're significantly more talented than, get a quarterback, get a performance this good from your quarterback, and still lose the game? Especially when the quarterback also had Jauan Jennings performing like he was prime Jerry Rice. I mean, we cannot undersell what Jauan Jennings did on the field today for the 49ers. Just to make sure that I have the stats fully right, I have the paper in front of me. Yeah, I had them right. 11 catches, 12 targets, 11 catches. So every single time except for once when Purdy went to Jauan Jennings, it was money. 175 yards. The 34-yarder that he caught over the safety and traffic was just a manly catch, and 3 touchdowns. Again, nobody in a 49ers uniform had put up these kind of numbers in a single game since Jerry Rice in 1995. So you get that, you get this from Brock Purdy, and somehow you lose the football game. So, I mean, the 49ers started 1-2 in 2022. But they started 1-2 because that was the year that Trey Lance got hurt. They were moving to Jimmy Garoppolo. He was obviously rusty. I think week 3 was the game in Denver. And they lost that game like 12-11 or something, 13-12, some really ugly score like that. But then they turned things around. They played the Rams. The offense found its stride. And, that team finished 13-4. The defense wasn't the issue at the start of the year, or at least the biggest issue for the 49ers. I think you probably have to go back to 2021 to find something a little bit like this, where they started 3-4, and the defense was under DeMeco Ryans, who was a first-year coordinator. And DeMeco Ryans, I think, took a while to learn the ropes, right? And it wasn't until week 8 or week 9 until the 49ers found their stride in that 2021 season. But it wasn't like a bottom barrel defense in 2021. And it wasn't a bottom barrel. Well, maybe it was. Special teams was really bad against Seattle that year in 2021. So it might have been bottom barrel special teams in 2021. That's what I'm saying. That the struggles that we're seeing now, to me, are a little bit reminiscent of 2021, in that the offense is doing its job, and it did in 2021 for the most part. That was a top 5 offense, but Purdy's great right now. Offense is doing its job. Jennings was great today. I get it that Bell dropped that pass, but they're overcoming some injuries. It is the defense and the special teams that is truly dragging the 49ers down right now. And you absolutely have to be balanced if you want to win a title. My first article, my first game recap on the San Francisco Standard is about to come out. So I'm just messaging my editor to see if you can send me the link so that way we can get it up. Maybe I can promote it on this live. So that's going to be exciting stuff. You guys can read all about the putrid 49ers defense and special teams and how they wasted Brock Purdy and Jauan Jennings' excellent performance today. All right, we have gotten the message off. But, we can get, as we go through what went wrong for the 49ers today, we can talk about a few more things. There were some instances in this game where they had a chance to completely cut off all hope from the Rams, completely snuff any chance of an upset out. I thought one of them came, obviously the fake punt defense was terrible, but late in the first half, the 49ers had a chance to get into field goal range. And 3 points obviously would have been very, very valuable in that situation based on what happened in this game. So they drive across the 50-yard line, and then Colton McKivitz completely whiffs on Byron Young, the edge rusher. Just completely whiffs. And it was a straight drop situation. It was a situation where you couldn't completely whiff in. It was right after Trent Williams had to exit the game because he had a cramp in his calf. So you knew the 49ers had to empty out the backfield. They had to try to get a few more yards before halftime in that situation. And you knew there was going to be pass obvious. The Rams knew, and Colton McKivitz still wasn't able to get in front of Byron Young. Purdy had no chance, strip sack. There goes 3 points off the board, or at least a chance at 3 points. So that was brutal for the 49ers at the end of the first half. Then obviously you have all the defensive issues in the second half. Then you have Jake Moody with a 55-yard field goal attempt. He had looked really good this year. It looked like he just kicked it straight from the hash. He didn't get any movement on the ball, and because he kicked it straight from the hash, it was about a foot wide. Didn't make it. That left the door open for the Rams as well. So those two plays, extremely damaging on top of the fake punt and, of course, on top of Ronnie Bell's drop late in this game. But to me, it's still concerning that guys like Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk aren't fully informed. It was obvious at the start of this game that the 49ers wanted to run the offense through Brandon Ayuk. I mean, you look at the first touchdown from Brock Purdy where he looked like Brady in the pocket. He's scanning the field. Good pass protection. You got to tip your cap to the 49ers line on that play. But Purdy is looking for Ayuk, who can't get any separation on the far side. The Rams are focusing defensively on him. So Purdy scans back over the field to the right side and finds Jauan Jennings for the touchdown. And, that was a great example of Brock Purdy seeing, okay, the plan was for me to go one way to my A-list wide receiver. He's not open. That's not there. So I'm going to scan the other way. And he created an opening with Jauan Jennings. I can't tell you how many times throughout this game Brock Purdy and Jauan Jennings created openings. There was one play where Purdy found Jennings where he scrambled for over 12 seconds. Yes, for over 12 seconds. He looked like Caleb Williams, but playing for USC on that play, which is a lot better than Caleb Williams playing for the Bears. But Purdy was weaving in and out of traffic every which way. Then he finally found Jauan Jennings. They made something happen because I think some separation problems were still there for this offense. And you'd expect them to be with no McCaffrey, with no George Kittle, with no Deebo Samuel. But Jennings playing that Z receiver role in Deebo Samuel's spot, they still made this work. The 49ers were Purdy and Jennings were all over this. And, Ayuk ended up with what? I think 5 catches. Yeah, 5 catches, 48 yards. Not a terrible outing, but I think they needed something closer to 70 yards in this game. I know Jennings carried a whole bunch of the weight with 175 yards. And if Jennings doesn't have as spectacular of a game as he did, if it's only a 100-yard game instead of a 175-yard game, well, then there's a lot worse spotlight on Brandon Ayuk right now. I mean, they needed somebody to tug the weight, the slack, to pick up the slack that had been left there with some of these superstars missing the game. And Jennings did it. Brandon Ayuk contributed a little bit, created a bit of a diversion for Jauan Jennings, I'm sure, but he didn't do it at an extremely high level. Even dropped that one pass. I think that it was Tre'Davious White that was able to get his hand in there. We saw Brandon Ayuk make so many of those contested catches last year when he was quite possibly the most efficient receiver in football. And it just hasn't been the same through 3 games this year. And I mean, he missed training camp. He has acknowledged that he's not 100%. These things have consequences, and the 49ers should be good enough to pick up the slack that they're seeing from Brandon Ayuk, that they're seeing from Trent Williams when he has to exit the game due to cramps in his calf. They should be good enough, but they haven't been good enough because they've been dropping the ball at so many other positions. All the way down to the very last play of the game, it looked like Brandon Ayuk might have taken a helmet-to-helmet hit on the Stanford band play that we saw at the end of the game. 49ers were pitching it every which way or backwards all the time. It was legal. The whole thing was for the 49ers. But instead of pitching to Jauan Jennings, who might have scored for the 49ers then, They pitched in Brandon Ayuk's direction. It looked like he got speared on the play. No call. That obviously would have given the 49ers a chance to tie this game at the end with a field goal. But it was just, I think, emblematic of how this went. The 49ers straining Purdy and company, straining every which way to make something happen. Eric Saubert, who had a nice game for the 49ers, had a bulk of that Stanford band play at the end. He cuts up field, tries to pitch back, but it all goes for naught when the 49ers couldn't finish the play at the very end. Speaking of that, Saubert had 2 catches for 41 yards. Charlie Werner last year had 3 catches for 32 yards, the 49ers tight end too, over the whole season. So Saubert in one game managed to gain more receiving yards than the tight end too from last season. So that's an arrow up for the 49ers. If you get George Kittle back soon, you'll have Eric Saubert as a receiving threat that's complementary to him. But, I could go through some of the positives on the offense. I'm sure you guys just want to hear about how bad the 49ers defense was. And we're going to have to hear about Javon Hargrave, who had a nice pressure and sack in this game today, but then was dealing with a triceps injury. I've seen some clips floating around of Hargrave looking like he's not giving maximal effort. I have to wonder if he's playing through something right now for the 49ers. Obviously, Charvarius Ward has actually been listed with the knee and the hamstring injuries. Those have been problematic for the 49ers, to say the least, because he was beaten several times in coverage today, including by Tutu Atwell on the big one. I will say San Francisco didn't run the ball all too effectively in this football game, but that's because the Rams are trying to take away the run. I get it. They don't have Christian McCaffrey. Mason has had a huge workload over the course of the first 3 weeks. Today for Jordan Mason, 12 carries in the first half, and then total 19 carries. So he's been 28 carries, 20 carries, and then 19 carries over the course of the first 3 weeks. The pass offense was going to have to carry more of the load if the defense was going to be gearing up against the run today. And for the most part, Purdy and Jennings did it. They just didn't have help. Shockingly bad pass defense, a run defense that's not moving the needle, and spectacularly bad special teams for the 49ers. So where does San Francisco go from here? I said they started 3-4 in 2021. Bad defense that year. DeMeco Ryans ultimately figured it out. So you got to give Nick Sorensen a chance to figure it out. So far, though, they haven't. They gave up 7 of 12 third downs last week. That was unacceptable against Minnesota. By the way, the Vikings won, I think, 34-7 over the Texans today. So that loss didn't look as bad last week, but this loss was terrible. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. You can't say that, oh, well, the Rams are doing great things against other opponents, because they're not. They lost 41-10 to the Cardinals last week. So Nick Sorensen obviously deserves a chance to grow as a defensive coordinator and figure things out. But there seem to be a lot of issues for the 49ers. In fact, my article is up now on the San Francisco Standard, so I got to tweet this out. And I'm going to read a couple of the quotes to you from this article. So let's just get this up on Twitter, and then we'll get this up on the screen for you. Because some of the quotes I think are really telling, and they're alarming in a way from the 49ers. 49ers waste epic performances from Purdy and Jennings in blowing game to the Rams. So my first post-game piece for at SF Standard. Boom. There it is. All right. We're going to get this up on the screen now for you. I'm going to get Mike to toss this into the description with the link. Mike, why don't you throw this into the description, please? There you go. And I'm going to put this up on the screen in 3, 2, 1. There it goes. So that's it. 49ers waste epic performances from Purdy, Jennings in a blowout loss in blowing the games of the Rams. Might as well have been a blowout loss. Probably would have been a less demoralized 49ers locker room. I mean, the way that they lost that game was crushing. So here, when you sign up for the Standard, you could put your email address in, and then you'll get all the notifications of the articles that come out. But here was, to me, the most alarming quote from Kyle Shanahan talking about the 49ers defense. Still looking for it right here. Different guys, different coverages, no common denominator. Talking about all the times the 49ers pass defense got beat deep. And I said, this is my writing on that. That might be the most concerning part of the 49ers loss. The worst defensive performances are the ones that feature so many problems that it's impossible to pinpoint a specific one. This outing coming on the heels of an ugly effort in Minnesota that saw the 49ers allow conversions on 7 of 12 third downs fell into that category. You can't just go out and say, oh, Charvarius Ward got beaten by Tutu Atwell. That's a problem the 49ers have to fix. Once they fix that, they'll be okay. No, there was problems with Isaac Yiadom. There was problems with the safeties, Jair Brown and Hufanga in coverage during this game. There's problems when Malik Mustafa, the rookie, was out on the field. There was problems with the pass rush on third down. Again, the worst defensive performances are the ones that feature so many problems that it's impossible to pinpoint a specific one. And the 49ers needed to improve their defense this year. Their defense had regressed last season from number 1 in 2022 to number 10 in 2023. The offense was number 1. So far, we haven't seen any positive signs that the 49ers defense has improved. But you got to give Nick Sorensen time. That's one thing. They gave DeMeco Ryans time in 2021. They started that season 3-4, and the defense was just getting smeared. I still remember Eno Benjamin running over Dre Kirkpatrick, Arizona, beating the 49ers with Colt McCoy week 7 or week 9 at Levi Stadium. So things can turn around on that front, but boy, there's a lot to fix if you're the 49ers. And obviously I listed 2 of those things here in the shockingly bad pass defense and the run defense not moving a needle. But then, I mean, you got to look at the special teams. 2021, the special teams absolutely derailed the 49ers multiple times, both games against Seattle. There was another game thrown in there with the special teams. They also screwed it up in 2021. It's been ugly over the course of the past 2 weeks for San Francisco. I mean, I mentioned it here late in the article up on the Standard, and I think Mike has put that link in the description. So go ahead and check it out. Click there and then sign up via email. It's free to sign up via email. You could read all of this stuff. You go down to, let me let them know one thing. You go down to the bottom of this article, and you see what I wrote about right here. And special teams coordinator Brian Schneider has plenty to fix too. Shanahan said the 49ers were actually expecting LA's fake punt, but the Rams found the edge on that play anyway. So, how the hell do you give up a fake punt first down when you're expecting it to come? That's gruesome. I haven't watched the tape yet. Here, as you can see, I'm still at SoFi Stadium. This is the article. I included the Brock Purdy throw chart in there, and I also included this stat. Let's put this up on the screen. Let's make this big. This is what should give the 49ers the most optimism, hope, perspective, whatever you want right now. They gave the Rams a lot of hope today. How about some hope the other way for San Francisco? The most games in NFL history from a quarterback delivering a rating over 100 over his first 25 starts. Patrick Mahomes did it in 18 of his first 25 starts. That's the most in NFL history. Brock Purdy has done it in 16 of his 25 starts. That's the same amount as Kurt Warner. So this is an all-time start that we're seeing from Brock Purdy. We saw more of it today. He is an absolutely elite player. But the 49ers cannot continue letting this go to waste. The hardest part of all this is to find an elite quarterback. The 49ers unquestionably have an elite quarterback. I guarantee you there are going to be talk shows this week, and people are going to try to blame this on Brock Purdy as if he was the one running and trying to catch the deep ball that Ronnie Bell dropped, as if he's the one that can't cover downfield, as if he's the one in charge of their punt coverage and their fake punt defense. Brock Purdy's not in charge of any of that. He played his ass off, as Kyle Shanahan said today. And on the way to playing his ass off, he is making borderline NFL history. Only Mahomes has had a better start to his career. And to be in the same conversation as a Hall of Famer like Kurt Warner in this statistic, that is absolutely saying something if you're Brock Purdy and the 49ers. So they have the most difficult part to find on this team. They have the elite quarterback. We're seeing it time and time again. 41 rushing yards on top of a nearly 300-yard passing performance. That's there. Now they have to figure out the rest of this. And the defense has been regressing ever since 2022. Down to number 10 last season. The defensive numbers are going to be downright ugly when we see the ranks. And, the sample size is still relatively small. It's still only September 22nd. I like to look at the advanced stats after a month. But I'm going to take a peek at them tomorrow, and I guarantee you the defense is going to be in the 20s in DVOA, like lower 20s probably. Because this Rams team couldn't do anything against the Cardinals. And they did a whole lot. They scored 27 against the 49ers. I thought it would be tough. My predicted score is 27-17 49ers. If Moody hits the 55-yard kick, I might have nailed the prediction because it was 24-17 at the time that he missed. But he missed. Okay, that should be fine. You should still be able to circle the wagons if you're the 49ers defense and say, we're healthy. Maybe minus Charvarius Ward. He was on the injury report, but big deal. Jake Moody missed the kick. This is an overwhelmed Rams offensive line. They don't have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Imagine how ugly this could have been if those two guys had played. Let's just go snuff them out. Let's make sure they can't move the ball at all. That's what 49ers defenses of the past would have done in that situation. This one gave up a 50-yard pass over the top to Tutu Atwell and a touchdown on the draw from Kyron Williams, who scored 3 touchdowns today for the Rams. So, talk about wasting a great performance on the other side of the ball in a shocking way. That's what happened here. So what's next for the 49ers? Well, this guy's going to take the field next week. You can read all about him over there on the Standard, but he's going to play the Patriots, who I think have a better defense than offense. The Patriots managed, 3 points against the Jets the other night? That is not an explosive offense. We'll see if Drake May makes his first career start against the 49ers. If not, Jacoby Brissett. 49ers should be heavily favored in this game. Matthew Stafford won't be on the other side, so I don't think you're going to have the same kind of offensive upside, but you should have better protection and you should have better weapons actually than the Rams had. So every game is a danger if the 49ers are playing this poorly on defense and on special teams. But again, they have the QB to do this. That's the one thing that I can't get away from is that, I wrote this in the article as well. This is more perspective for you. The 49ers have lost now 5 times. They've blown 5 double-digit fourth-quarter leads in Shanahan's tenure. That goes back to 2017. But this one was not like the others. The preceding 4 times where that they blew a fourth-quarter double-digit lead were in 2018 against the Arizona Cardinals, in 2019 against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, in 2020 against the Seahawks, in 2021 against the Rams. So in all 4 of those times, the 49ers either had a bad quarterback. In 2018 and 2020, they had a bad quarterback. They had I think CJ Beathard against the Cardinals, and in 2020 they might have been playing with Beathard again. Actually, they were on a backup against the Seattle Seahawks, or they were playing a championship team. So the 2019 Chiefs were a Super Bowl caliber team. Patrick Mahomes led the comeback. The 2021 Rams won the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp led the comeback. This time, the 49ers had a great quarterback in Brock Purdy, and they were playing a bad team in the Rams, and they still managed to blow it. So this was unlike all the other games. This was an epic collapse from the 49ers. There is no other way to put it. An epic collapse featuring the great quarterback performance of Brock Purdy and an all-time receiving performance from Jauan Jennings. Hopefully that puts perspective on just how bad the 49ers defense and special teams was in this football game. And you could talk about Ronnie Bell all you want, but Purdy did what he did and wasn't as impressive as he was with a shorthanded offense. I don't think that you look at Ronnie Bell in this game and say, oh yeah, he's at the top of the fault list for the 49ers. The shorthanded offense did what it needed to. The defense that was not shorthanded failed for the 49ers in this game. The special teams that knew that a fake punt was coming, or at least suspected that a fake punt was coming, but still couldn't stop it, they failed for the 49ers in this game. So moving forward against the Patriots next week and then the Cardinals after that, they've got to fix those 2 phases of the game. They've got to bring the defense and the special teams up to maybe mediocrity. Mediocrity from those two along with greatness from Brock Purdy. I think that's what can actually help the 49ers win some football games instead of these last 2 weeks, which have been losses. I'm looking to see if the Ben Baldwin's team tiers are up to finish this show. See if this is updated through a couple weeks. They probably have. Yep, and I believe they are up, and we're going to get this up on the screen for you. This should illustrate the 49ers' issues through these couple of weeks. We got our XY axis illustration. So here you go. So the further you are to the right, the better your offense is. And then the further up you are, the better your defense is. So you want to be up here. You want to be in the upper right. Look, the Vikings are doing well. The Saints, I know they lost today, but they're doing well. The Bills are doing well. Look, the 49ers offense is elite. They're up here with the top 5 offenses in the game. I think they're going to continue moving that way as they start to get guys back. The average offense is delineated by this vertical line. The defense, though, is below average, and that includes the game against the Jets. So if the 49ers had an average offense right here, they'd be a second, third tier team. Instead, they're 1, 2, 3, 4. They're a 5th tier team right now because the defense is bad. And this doesn't even take into account special teams, which has been absolutely horrific. I think special teams takes the 49ers from a 5th tier team probably to like a 7th tier team, a below average football team. I mean, that was the type of game that a bad team loses today from the 49ers. But they've got the great quarterback and they've got the potential to be a good team. So that's what they have to fix moving forward. Anyway, thanks for everybody for joining. We've got the article up on the San Francisco Standard. I know we've got over 5,000 of you watching right now. Link is in the description, so go ahead and check it out. Put in your email. This is my first game covering for the Standard. They're going to kick me out of SoFi Stadium now, so I'm going to have to jet. I'm going to have to get out of here. They told me I have until 9 o'clock in this suite. 49ers lose 27-24. That was an ugly, ugly loss, a blown game, despite the fact they got a great performance from Brock Purdy and a borderline legendary performance from Jauan Jennings. Tough to waste that if you're the 49ers, but they move on to play the New England Patriots. So go ahead and hit the sub button and make sure that you sign up for the Standard. We'll talk to everybody soon.